Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. So, seems I've had a pretty healthy run of a lot of projects I've built using the Domino. The Domino is awesome, it's fast, and it really makes joinery quick. But you certainly don't need to own this tool to do nice joinery. So I want to try to keep this video as short as possible. We're going to jump right in over at the bench, and I'm going to show you my preferred methods on traditional mortise and tenon joinery, a couple of ways to do them, and just kind of give you a high-level brief oversight and try to keep this video as short as possible. Okay, I'm set up with the router and a single edge guide, and I have it positioned on my first stop, and my turret stop is set at my max depth. So I'm going to cut a hole all the way at that max depth, and then I'm going to pull it back to the end point, and I'm going to cut a hole at that max depth. Then I'm going to go to the shallower turret stop and clean out the material in between, and then rotate back to my full depth and clean that material out. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, for this mortise, I've set up with dual edge guides. For those of you who have followed me for a while know I really like dual edge guides. It's much more stable on the beast. You get no wobble, and it's just, to me, it's much safer. But not everybody has dual edge guides for their router either. But this is my preferred method. The cut is exactly the same. Okay, on this mortise, I'm just going to go ahead and square everything up. So we'll take a square tenon. We're going to do round it over on the other end, and I'll show you that when we get there. Now I used a 1/2 inch bit, so a 1/2 inch chisel fits really nice. Now if you happen to have symmetric ones, metric chisels are just a little bit narrower, so it gives you a little bit more playroom. I don't have a metric set. But I'll come down and just use a 3/8 chisel and work around once I've established my lines, which is what I'm doing right here. And there you can see one squared up mortise. We're going to leave the other end rounded off, and we'll round the tenons on that. We're going to get after the tenons next. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways to cut the tenons, and since we did this jig recently, I thought I'd show you this way. And then we'll set up the dado stack for the other side. But this side I have my blade height set for the depth of the mortise, and I have my shoulder set to leave me equal distance and leave me that 1/2 inch tenon in the middle. So again, your pieces are going to be different for the exact numbers. And I did run a test scrap here to make sure that this was going to fit nicely. So we're just going to go ahead and cut these tenons. Okay, I've reset up with the panel saw and checked my line up here. I put a stop block in just so that I can just flip the piece over and go right to the second side. And I'll probably cut it just a smidge shy and just clean it up with the chisel, which is fine. Okay, and that is actually
a really nice fit. So next up, we just got to go ahead and trim our shoulders, and then this one will be complete. Okay, and I apologize for the angles a little bit, but next up we just have to go ahead and cut our little tabs off. Just being careful not to cut into our shoulder. And I will stay outside my line when taking these out and clean it up with a chisel. I'm going to use my shoulder out here and just pare back to my line. Okay, and just like that, go ahead and fit it together. Make sure everything is lined up well. And just like that, that is a traditional mortise and tenon joint, and it all turned out great. So let's cut another one on the other end, and we'll round over the corners on that one. Okay, so for this one, I've set up a 3/4 inch dado stack. I have my miter gauge and I have a stop block so I can find my shoulder. I've adjusted my height, again, to leave me that 1/2 inch tenon that we're looking for. So I'll go ahead and cut these, and then I'll reset the height to take care of the shoulders, and away we go. Okay, so to round off the corners, I'm just going to come up underneath here and sever those fibers a little bit so I don't get a bunch of chip out. And then I'm just going to chisel down the corner and start rounding it off. All this work down here at the base, I'm going to primarily do with a chisel so I don't booger up the shoulder. And then I'll come back with a rasp and just rasp off the top part. Okay, and just like that, we have a good fitting tenon. So, confession time. I actually made my dado stack just a little bit too tall, and I had a sloppy fit. So I came back in and glued a thin shim on, and then just did a little filing on it to give it that nice fit. So that's a nice way that you can repair these tenons as well. If they get a little bit sloppy, you can always CA glue a little shim on and do a little finesse work and get them to fit just right. So there you go, guys. There's a couple of different ways to do the mortise and tenon joints. The round over or the square, whether you're squaring the mortise or rounding the tenon, that's up to you. As long as you get a good fit in there, it's all about the glue surface. So either way is perfectly fine. Technically, you can also cut these on the router table, which requires dropping it onto a spinning bit. And a lot of people do it and they're comfortable with it, and that's fine. But I didn't show you that method because I so rarely use that method. Anyways, I hope you got something out of it, and until next time, take care, guys.